America, we are back, baby. Welcome to another episode of America Unfiltered. We're back in a suit. We're back in action. We're ready to roll today. We got a great show for you today, folks. Today is going to be our final part to the Who is James Pascalides in America Unfiltered. It's really just going to be me talking again about my political beliefs, why I got into this, and what I think this country is doing wrong, doing right, what it needs to improve. There's a lot it's doing wrong, a lot it's doing right. Especially over the last few years. Over the last couple episodes, we talked about a lot of different topics. And I want to continue talking about some of those topics, talk about some new ones. I want to talk about AI. I want to talk about problems that are happening in my generation, which is stuff we've already talked about. I want to talk about mainstream conservatism versus other parts of the conservative party. I want to talk about how the liberal party is starting to break up in a similar way and how we're starting to see a new divide in politics beyond the big divide we already have between liberals and Republicans. We have this huge divide that we've all known. People disagree on pretty much everything. 50% of the population hates the other 50%, or maybe it's not that extreme, but it's pretty close to that. Politically, people are very divided in this country. But now we're starting to see people within their own parties break up. Among the Democratic Party, one of the big reasons it seems to be happening right now is the 2028 presidential bid. A lot of them do not agree with who the candidate should be. You see a lot of people saying that Kamala was a really weak candidate who wasn't even primaried in and that she would be another disaster in 2028. You have them talking about AOC or Jasmine Crockett, who, what are we trying to do? Are we just trying to throw America away? AOC has the talking points of a 5-year-old, and Jasmine Crockett can't complete a sentence. Jasmine Crockett is essentially illiterate. Jasmine Crockett says extremely offensive things to people of all races in Congress, for her constituents, all of America, really. Very active on Twitter, very vocal against Donald Trump, tried to even impeach or file articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. Donald Trump speaks out against Jasmine Crockett all the time. I think he tweeted out that she was low IQ, or put it on Truth Social. He doesn't really tweet as much. But yeah, like when you have the president tweeting that someone in Congress is low IQ, I don't know. That's not great. That kind of shows you that some of the people in Congress need to step it up a little bit. It takes a lot for the president to make that leap, to say that person is low IQ, because that's an insult. And he hurled it her way pretty quick. And it's true. It is not wrong. She does, compared to other people in Congress, make lower IQ points. But AOC does the same thing. Bernie Sanders has some as well. Bernie Sanders got completely exposed on Joe Rogan for this. It was one of the most trending topics on X and on YouTube for about a week after, because that's one of the beauties of the Joe Rogan podcast and a 3-hour podcast in general is you can BS somebody and lie to somebody, and you can push your agenda or whatever it is for an hour, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour and a half if you're well media trained. But for 3 hours to continuously push your woke agenda, to not be able to back it up with facts, and then to be saying, yeah, we would have to tax people 90%. Are you serious? Do you want to start a revolution in this country? You're going to tax us at 90%? I remember they put 2% tax on tea, and you saw what happened. 90%? Are you kidding me? It's Bernie Sanders. It's just ridiculous. I love that he said in the Joe Rogan podcast that he's not going to run for president. He understands he's too old. I agree with. I even think Donald Trump's too old. I think we need some young blood in there. I think the fact that you could be 35 to run for president and there's not more 35-year-olds who do this, extremely disappointing. People say, oh, lack of political experience. One, there are people who get into politics early in their 20s. That happens a lot, especially nowadays, so maybe we'll see some upcoming candidates like that. But also, I don't think a lack of political experience is the worst thing. I think as long as you have a good understanding of foreign policy, you're a firm negotiator, you're smart, you understand politics, that not just like politics, we understand it as constituents, but politics on a deeper level, the game of it. It's a complete game in Washington, D.C., and it's a sport, and there are winners and there are losers. And right now, the Republicans, they look like they're winning. They're not really winning, but they look like they're winning. And there are winners and losers in politics, and it's like business. Business is another sport as well, and there are people who dominate in that sport, and there are people who absolutely fail in that sport and lose and get rolled over by people who dominate in that sport. And not everyone plays fair. People cheat, people cut corners, people bribe, people do all kinds of terrible things. But just like any other sport, People do it. Some people get caught, very few, but a lot of people get away with it. And that's the corruption in our government. It's the lobbying. It's the reason why I don't love these older candidates. I don't love people who've been around the block for 50 years, because that's 50 years you've been in politics where lobbyists are ringing your phone every day. I understand how politics works. The day your name gets on the ballot, no matter what level of government you're applying for, you have lobbyists calling you. You have gun lobbyists, you have Christian lobbyists, you have Jewish lobbyists, you have Muslim lobbyists, you have food lobbyists, you have health lobbyists, you have pro-soda lobbyists, you have lobbyists from everything calling you, emailing you, offering you $1,000 to say this, $1,000 to say that. It's corruption. It's terrible. It's one of the things we need rooted out of our system. It's one of the reasons we need more fresh blood in this country. We need more people who are 35 years old to start putting themselves in these presidential elections, to start actually trying to make a name for themselves in this country. And even if you're not 35, just give me the lower half of 50 or 60. I don't know. I'm sick of seeing 80-year-olds in there. I'm sick of seeing these really old guys who have really no ties to the future of this country. Donald Trump, you could say a little bit because his kids are young, and I do think Barron is being primed to be the presidential candidate one day. So that could be one of our 35-year-old candidates possibly. But we need people who have a real stake in this country to be in office. We need people who love this country with everything they have, are competent enough to hold that place in office. They're not just there because they were a Democrat or a Republican. A lot of people just go down the ballot on election day. They'll vote for the president because they know those people. But a lot of people don't do the research on the House and the Senate and the judges and the sheriffs and all the other people you're voting in on your ballots. Or at least in Florida, we vote in sheriffs. I don't know about every other state. But all the other things you vote on your ballot, some people just go down the line Democrat, down the line Republican. And I don't agree with that. I think more people need to do more research, and people think, oh, it doesn't really matter. They're not impacting big issues. But in reality, it does impact your day-to-day life a lot more than you think. I can give an example of this in my life. I have lived in Collier County and Lee County. I currently live in Lee County, and I find Collier County to be a lot better. I don't have anything wrong with Lee County. I love Lee County. It's my home, and I want to continue to improve it. But Collier County is a lot better because they enforce crime more. They also are way better about taxes and small businesses. They are way better when it comes to supporting their constituents and listening to what their constituents want. And they are also a more peaceful society. There's very little crime in Collier County compared to Lee County, which is a fairly dangerous county sometimes. And there's also corruption that happens in Lee County. Lee County was one of the counties that tried to veto ICE deportations in the county until they eventually were pressured to lose federal funding, and they had to overturn that. Thank the Lord. I don't think that illegal migrants should be in this area, especially in my area. We had one who just got deported in the town right next to me for molesting a little boy. That is terrible. That person should go to hell. That person should be deported. That person should have to suffer every day in prison for his consequences. These are terrible crimes, and I'm not saying every single illegal immigrant is committing these terrible crimes, but there are people who are committing these terrible crimes, and when you can completely avoid those crimes as a whole, we need to. If we just enforced the border laws when Joe Biden was the president, we wouldn't be dealing with these problems. We wouldn't be dealing with the Rachel Morans, with the Laken Rileys, with the little boy I just described. They're not going to release the names of these children, but there have been thousands of children trafficked across the border, and they had over 300,000 missing kids, and they estimate that 60 to 70,000 of those kids were sex trafficked. That's so sad. I've talked to people about this before on this show. Everyone should watch The Sound of Freedom by Angel Studios. It's such a gut-wrenching movie, but it tells a beautiful story of a Department of Homeland Security officer who basically quits his job to stop just arresting pedophiles and go save the children. And he dedicated his life to saving these children. And he thanks his wife and his family and his kids for the encouragement to go do it. And he was able to reunite a lot of families. And like I said, it's a gut-wrenching story. It does... The manliest of men it's gonna break you down to nothing. It's impossible to watch without feeling like absolutely nothing inside. It breaks you, but it is one of those movies that shows you the true horrors of things that are going on in this world, and we can't just ignore them. And just because they're ugly, we can't just not talk about them. There are ugly things in this world that if we don't talk about them, they don't go away. And it's one of the worst. Florida does a really great job about this. I've talked about this. They even had an operation last week where they saved over 60 children out of sex trafficking in Florida. Again, God's children are not for sale. I'm very glad that Florida is putting children first in every way. It's what needs to happen around the world. But you don't see places like states like Minnesota where Tim Walz are saying, yeah, it's not the parents' kids, they're our kids. What kind of quote is that? They are not your kids. They are the parents' kids. The parents have the right to instill their values in their children. The government does not. The government does not have the right to instill their values over the parents' values in the children. Who do you think you are? Again, these are the things that overstep and border a revolution. There are certain lines you do not cross, and you don't take people's children from them. You don't try and indoctrinate people's children. You don't change the entire public school system to be a woke indoctrination and a place where kids aren't actually learning things proactively because they're so distracted by all the wokeness going on in the classroom. You can't have people constantly distracted in the classroom because there are books that are sexually inappropriate for minors to be reading. There are lines to what kids should and shouldn't be reading, and if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, I urge them just look up this on YouTube. Parental board meeting book ban. Just look that up. And then you're going to see liberal sides saying that Republicans are banning books. They're acting like Nazis. Nazis ban books and burn books, and now Republicans are doing the same thing. And then you're going to watch someone, a father, walk up to the podium at that same board meeting, and they are going to say, or they're going to read the book, and they're going to read a quote that is something along the lines of, this person was doing this to this person and they did this to do it to them, and it's all going to be extremely sexually related, extremely graphic, nothing that a 12-year-old or a middle schooler should be reading. Why should middle schoolers be learning about sex toys and sex instruments? And I understand like sex ed, I understand teaching them about condoms, I understand birth control, I understand teaching them about the consequences of what could happen if they have sex, but teaching kids about sex toys and teaching kids about weird things like that is just grooming. But it is things happening in our schools, and it's things that liberals are defending. And it's not the entire liberal party, but it's liberals in our government, and they're actively defending it. And you want to know how I know they're defending it? Because it doesn't change. And the only place it's happening is in these liberal states and cities. It's the liberal education system. It's the liberal governments that are allowing people to have drag shows in schools, that are allowing people to have, again, these books that literally have sexually inappropriate material for kids. That is terrible. We should not have kids be reading books that are strictly about sex. And I'm not even just only talking about certain sex things. I think in general, there's classic literature where sex is mentioned, and there's Romeo and Juliet and things like that where it's tastefully done. But it's not the same as these graphic books. And the reason I'm not describing it that was because I don't want to use the language on this show. I find it so grotesque and disgusting that I'm not even willing to repeat some of the things. It is so vile, some of the things in these books they read. So again, I urge anyone, if you don't know what I'm talking about and you think I'm not explaining this part well, pause this video, go to a video of a dad at a school board pissed off reading a book from that school's library. Watch the people at the school board say, you can't be saying inappropriate words like that at the school board meeting. That's inappropriate. And he's saying, then why is it appropriate for my 11-year-old daughter to read in your library? And watch none of them respond. It's terrible what we're allowing these kids to, it's just terrible what we're putting in these kids' brains. Kids have TikTok brain now. Kids can't learn. I saw a video of a teacher where he was scrolling and doing his lecture, and he put a video, like a little simulator of the, what is that game? The Doodle Jump guy, not Doodle Jump, the Jetpack guy, that App Store game. Just so people have a little visual, just nothing to watch while they listen to their teacher subconsciously. It's insane the way kids' brains operate now because of TikTok and social media. And it's not all kids, but we're going in that direction. I think we're going in the wrong direction with technology in a lot of ways. I think technology is great, but I think a lot of the people in charge of it aren't great. I think Elon Musk is actually the most sane person in charge of technology. That's actually one topic we got to talk about. I forgot about that till I just mentioned it. Elon Musk versus Trump Part 2 is going on right now. Elon Musk just tweeted out against Donald Trump again about the One Big Beautiful Bill, about raising the debt ceiling, basically saying we're just screwing future generations. All stuff I agree with. Donald Trump has spoke out against Thomas Massie, someone I love, for saying these similar things. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said similar things as well. Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene seem to work well together. And then Trump said he's going to primary somebody against Thomas Massie, and that Thomas Massie will lose no matter what. Which kind of is true. Not 100%, but Trump's backing means a lot. Trump's endorsement means more than most people's endorsement. When Donald Trump is saying, don't vote for this guy, vote for this guy, that means something to the Republican establishment now. But Elon Musk tweeted out, I'm going to financially back Thomas Massie this morning. Didn't even tell Thomas Massie, just tweeted it out and tagged him in it. And then Thomas Massie woke up to that and tweeted back, I'm so glad, we're so thankful we have Elon Musk restoring free speech on X, trying to push America First movements. And then something Elon floated out a few weeks ago during Donald Trump Elon Part 1. And I talked about this. Elon said he wants to form the America Party, or Pro-America Party. I think it was just the America Party. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's call it the America Party. He wanted to found the America Party. This would be awesome. He took a poll on Twitter and he tweeted out, I bet 80% of people in America would support the new America Party. And then he put up a poll and literally to the dot, I think it was 80% said, yes, I would want that new party. That, again, people are going to see the numbers are close. They're going to try and get it up to 80. I get it. It might not be exact, and some of the votes might not come from America. People argue that there are a lot of bots on Twitter, which I agree with. But it is an interesting statistic. And then Polymarket, which has been one of the greatest indications. Polymarket's a company, I think, founded or invested in by Peter Thiel, but it pretty much is like a way to gamble on politics. It's a way to gamble on things happening in the world, and it's become one of the best indicators for what's going to happen in politics. Like, they predicted Donald Trump was going to win the election hours before he did, and they have predicted almost everything else right, and you can look just by the betting markets. There's, again, few things they get wrong, but the betting markets seem to be right, especially when you get closer to the election times, closer to things like that. The betting markets seem to be very accurate. So, Polymarket is now showing a 48% rise up to a now 57% possibility that Elon Musk, going into, I think, 2028, will found the America Party and will primary a candidate there. Will try and get a candidate in the America Party and destroy the two-party system. This is something I would love. I think we betrayed our founders. I think I talked about this yesterday. We betrayed our founders when we made foreign alliances, and when we betrayed them when we made political parties. It was pretty much the two things they said not to do. There was a few others, but those were the big no-nos. They said, don't create foreign affairs. It's just going to lead to endless wars and corruption and foreign lobbying, which was one of the things they warned about. And then they said, don't create political parties. You are just going to destroy this country over time if you do that, because the political parties themselves become the establishment and become the swamp that we're trying to drain. Nobody else can get on the debate unless you're a Republican or Democrat. And for good reason, sometimes. A lot of these third-party candidates are nut jobs. Not all of them are. In 2020, I even voted for Jo Jorgensen, third-party candidate, South Carolina mom. She was great. I think Jo Jorgensen would have been a good president. Way better than Joe Biden was in 2020 for sure. We all saw how that went. But I think you're never going to be able to get that. You're not going to be able to get these independent candidates on the ballot unless we have someone like Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, putting his money behind it, because it just doesn't work without the money. That's what runs politics nowadays. And I love that Elon Musk is just a free speech absolutist. I love that Elon Musk is a pro-America first person. Elon Musk understands the beauty of America. And not only that, he understands the beauty of population growth. He understands we're a declining population. He is one of the biggest voices in this. I try and talk about it too. We are declining in population. We need to have more babies. This is going to be a massive problem in a few generations. And Elon is trying to fix this. Elon's also trying to make life multi-planetary, which is insane. People think Elon's this crazy nut job. And it's funny now because you see the liberals loving him again. They loved him all throughout the years when he was this pro-green Tesla guy, and then he backed Donald Trump because he didn't want to fund the woke agenda. And because Joe Biden literally attacked him as well. Joe Biden went at Elon Musk personally on multiple times. And then you see what happens. He funded Donald Trump to the tune of like $200 million. Donald Trump was able to win the election. Elon Musk was able to be hated by the entire liberal establishment. He was called a Nazi. They tried to tear down his character. They made fun of him because he was an immigrant who didn't support illegal immigration, even though most immigrants don't. Most illegal immigrants do not support illegal immigration. And they tried to tear down his character completely. They tried to assassinate his character, and they failed because now they love him again. They just show their own hypocrisy. That's their failure. Their own hypocrisy is their failure. Their own delusion. The fact that now you have the Krasenstein brothers tweeting out how much they like Elon Musk, and you have the liberal establishment saying that, look, Elon's standing up to Trump because of the One Big Beautiful Bill. A lot of people are standing up to Trump about the One Big Beautiful Bill. Elon Musk has just allowed his voice about it, and he's the one who called Trump a pedophile when he did it. Which, again, I think that was childish, and Elon apologized for that. And we've talked about the Epstein files before. I'm still pissed they're not released. I'm starting to believe they don't exist, or I don't know what I'm starting to believe. It's really upsetting. We'll get to that later. I don't want to get distracted from the Elon Trump thing. But Trump followed all this up pretty much by tweeting out or putting on True Social after this that Elon, if the government Doge style looked into all the ways they subsidize SpaceX, all the different grants they give, that they would save a ton of money, which, again, theoretically true, but I do not agree that we should not continue Elon's plan to make life multiplanetary. I do think it's actually a necessary step to continue human civilization and for it to overcome time. Eventually, we will die, and it's just a matter of what, why, and when. Is it going to be a nuclear war? Is it going to be a meteor? Is it going to be just some catastrophic event, an act of God? What could it be? We don't know, but eventually humans will die off. And it could just be population collapse, like I've talked about. We are declining in population. Fertility rates are dropping out the wazoo. Luckily, that could get fixed with this Make America Healthy stuff if we can really get enough change. But with the pushback you get from Democrats, it's so hard to move fast with the Republicans. That is the one thing you got to give Republicans credit for. They get more pushback than anybody recently. Like I've talked about, Donald Trump wants to take a breath or a piss and he gets an injunction. Donald Trump wants to do anything and he's getting sued. And it goes for people in the House and Senate, Republicans in general. So you really do have to commend the Republicans who are able to get stuff done under all this scrutiny. And the fact that Donald Trump, after all these years of being called names, literally being shot, he's still here. He's still fighting for America. And while I don't agree with everything he does, he's fighting for America. And I still believe that the Donald Trump who stood in front of us and said, we're going to put America first in every way. We're going to support American manufacturing, American jobs, and bring value back to the American dollar. America first will be our credo. When Donald Trump said that in 2016, it touched the hearts of millions of Americans around this country, and still it's touching my heart today. I still think that's in Donald Trump. I still think Donald Trump has that America first belief in him. I do think Donald Trump took some foreign aid money. I do think it was clear that the Adelson family funded Trump to the tune of $100 million, and that probably played an impact in the Israel-Iran conflict. But again, I've talked about Iran should not be having a nuclear weapon. I just don't think the way we did it was right. I've talked about that a lot, that if we just pulled the assets out before, it would have gone a lot better. I think Elon and Trump need to get this together. Trump followed up the tweet with saying that Elon, if he lost the subsidies, would have to close his companies and move back to South Africa, which, again, is a stupid comment. Again, it's Trump being a troll. It's not Trump, like, being an asshole as much as just being a troll, kind of who Trump is. And same thing with Elon. Like, Elon's a troll, too. Elon says retard. Elon says crazy things on Twitter. He is... What billionaire who wants to go to Mars and digs tunnels in Vegas and does all the weird, like, sells flamethrowers? Like, he's a nut job. That's what we love about him. We need that billionaire nut job, that genius who is going to push humanity forward, the one who's going to test the limits, the misfits, the rebels, the people. Steve Jobs talked about this. The misfits, the rebels, the square pegs in the round holes, the people who can't listen to the status quo. You can't ignore them. You can't vilify them. I don't know the exact quote. I'm misquoting it there, but go watch The Misfits, or the Crazy Ones by Steve Jobs. It's a 1-minute clip, and it's beautiful. And That's what Elon is. Elon's the misfit, the rebel. He's all that. He's America. He is freedom. He's ultimate freedom. Sells flamethrowers. He revved a chainsaw at CPAC. He cut spending in Doge. He talked about how they would kill him if he kept doing it more on the media. Who talks about that? Who says stuff like that? He tweets out that he's not going to kill himself in case the establishment, Elon is a character. He's a funny guy. And whether you agree with his politics or not, it doesn't seem to matter for liberals because they just flip-flop anyway. But you got to just appreciate the humor. You got to appreciate that the guy puts America first, that the guy is literally willing to sacrifice millions of his own dollars for what he thought was something really great. And I'm sure him and Donald Trump can still relate on 90% of issues, but they don't relate on that one, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which is such a big issue. I don't think the One Big Beautiful Bill is great either. I'm glad I'm not in the government right now, because saying that publicly is a death note to your political career. If you're looking at Thomas Massey refusing to vote for it, and they're putting someone a primary against it. Marjorie Taylor Greene speaks out against it. She also speaks out against the Israel lobby, and they're talking about primarying someone against her. It's just what happens. You have to do these certain things in politics to fit in, but why can't we change that? Why can't the next generation remove that? Why can't we remove the lobby, specifically the foreign lobby? Why can't we remove the bureaucracy and the NGOs and the super PACs and all the people who are funding all this garbage, and all the people who are making politics a nightmare, and all the people who are making it impossible to just actually tell the truth? We used to have a sense of right and wrong and morality and just basic common sense and truth. And people cared about the truth. People would want to know the facts of situations. People would want to know the statistics behind situations. They would want to not only know the facts and statistics, but understand why these things got that way. There are a lot of problems we have in America that we need to fix, and people don't love to acknowledge them. But if we don't continue to fix these problems, they're only going to get worse. We're only going to continue to live in a more messed up society if our crime rates go up, if kids continue to be more depressed and more anxious, if we continue to see a lack of marriage rates and a lack of birth rates. We're going to see, why do you think humans were put on this earth? Why do you think humans are so special that we now don't need to procreate or have the things that literally every other living species has? They mate for life, they build families, they protect and provide. They do all these things because they have the primal urge to do them. The same way men have primal urges to do certain things and women have primal urges to do certain things. Like, you ever go to the beach as a guy and just dig a hole? Yeah, that's your primal urge to just dig and explore. That's your primal, or you ever seen a woman at a farmer's market? That's her primal urge to forage. There are certain things, like men hunt, and I'm not saying there's not exceptions, men like farmers markets and some women like hunting, but you get what I'm saying. There's a reason men enjoy fishing, even the ones who don't eat fish. There's a reason men enjoy certain activities. There's a reason men watch the military parade, and we watch sports at higher rates, and you see them complaining about the WNBA, but realistically, a lot of the people watching the WNBA now are men, and it's not really the women need to step up and support these WNBA players, because the men are supporting them more than anything. I watch almost every Indiana Fever game. I know Dave Portnoy has gotten a lot of Barstool on that same exact wave. Caitlin Clark is revolutionizing the WNBA, and you have people like Sophia Cunningham getting her back, which is all better to watch. They're selling out every game. Every game, no matter what stadium they're in, is a home game. And they're now talking about 4 new expansion teams. Again, thank Caitlin Clark for this. Caitlin Clark brought the money to the league. You can't thank the people in the league who are doing little to nothing to actually bring revenue in. You can talk about stat lines, you talk about whatever you want, but look at game tickets, look at jersey sales. There's a reason Caitlin Clark's jersey is by far the most ordered. Sophia Cunningham sold out the day after she threw that other girl on the ground for Caitlin Clark. Why wouldn't it? She proved to the world 2 things. She's not going to take shit, and that she is going to put the best player in the league over everything else. She is going to value the star of her team, her friend, and the star of the league. Literally the entire face of the league. Without Caitlin Clark, if you removed her from the WNBA tomorrow, she could start her own league that would be twice as successful. And you don't think she can get funding for it, but I promise you, someone like Dave Portnoy or somebody like Ice Cube or something would fund that. That would be a huge project. It would be very successful. I'm not saying she should do that. I think she should continue to build up the WNBA. But the fact that the WNBA doesn't want to continue to build up Caitlin Clark in the same way is disgusting to me. The fact that you have Jameel Hill, that disgraced ESPN reporter, reporting garbage about Caitlin Clark all the time because she's white. It's terrible. Like, Jameel Hill's tweets are so racist, and just anyone who doesn't believe me, go read them. They are blatantly just calling out white things. And it's like one of my problems I have with the Mamdani guy in New York. He literally said, I'm going to tax whiter neighborhoods more. What? Can I say I'm going to tax black neighborhoods or Mexican neighborhoods or Cuban neighborhoods or Asian neighborhoods? That's ridiculous. You can't say you're going to tax a certain race more. What are you doing? What are you talking about? This democratic socialism that's actually just communism needs to go. It is so bad for this country. I am so sick of seeing people bow down to this. I'm sick of people saying, no, this is what we need. We need rent freezes. We need government-owned grocery stores to shut down all the small businesses. There's 2 bodegas on every street in New York. You're going to shut most of them down. You're going to shut so many small businesses down. And your government-run grocery store will never happen, in my opinion. You do not have the ability to raise taxes in New York as the mayor. I've looked into this on multiple times. He can get the state to do it, but he cannot raise the taxes. And he cannot just raise the taxes on white people. But if you look it up, a word-for-word quote is, he wants to tax wealthier, rich, white neighborhoods. That's a racist quote. You can't say that you want to tax a certain race for. That is ridiculous. And if a white man said that about any other race, he would be crucified. But no, Zamdani, he gets away with it because he's because he's a shill for the Democratic Party. He's a shill for communism because he's pushing these woke ideologies that do not fit into New York. I really wish that New York could get it together. I wish New York's the city that, it's one of the most beautiful cities in this country. I grew up by New York. I love New York. I went there all the time. It's personal to me because of this. I love this city of New York. But you see, one of the reasons I'd be scared to live there is if I went out to get pizza at 2 a.m., I know I'm going to get stabbed one day. I know that if I just look the wrong guy in the eyes, he's going to fight me. A woman got burned on the subway. A guy got put in jail and his life ruined because he choked another man out on the subway who was putting everyone else in harm. Penny did. He was a hero practically. He was a Marine. And again, I'm not saying Marines should just go out choking people who they think are threats, but this guy was a legitimate threat. And if he didn't get choked out in that scenario, someone else was going to die. So I don't think anyone should have, but if someone had to, I'm glad it's the person who was acting violent and reckless towards women on a subway when they're essentially trapped there for X amount of time. That's terrible. The things that happen on the New York City subway are very dangerous sometimes. People just push people in front of the subway. People get robbed in the subways. They are deploying National Guard to some of the subways, or not right now, but they were in the past because of the crime, especially when they were first allowing a lot of the migrants in. When they were first allowing a lot of the migrants in, they were putting them at these 5-star hotels in New York City. Again, that's terrible. Why are tax dollars funding 5-star hotels for illegal immigrants? Why do they deserve that? I don't deserve a 5-star hotel. I deserve like a 2.5, 3-star max. As long as it doesn't have bed bugs, I'm fine. Why do these people deserve a 5-star hotel on my tax time? Why do these people get things that the American veterans don't get? Why do these people get, and I'm not saying give veterans 5-star hotels either, but at least make life easier for veterans in this country and don't make life easier for illegal immigrants in this country. Are you kidding me? One of them broke the law and one of them put their lives on the line for this nation. What are we doing? What is America coming to? We are seeing record numbers in the military, which is very happy to me. I want to continue to see those record numbers rise. I think more people need to sign up for the military. I think more people need to be proud to sign up for the draft as men. I remember on my 18th birthday, I think I woke up about 7:30 in the morning, and by 7:33 I was registered for the draft. I woke up, my computer was next to me, I opened it, and I registered for the draft online. And again, it's what you do. It's part of being a man. It's a legal thing you have to do, but you should just be willing to do it as a man. You should be willing to put your name in that draft. You should be willing to just have a little stake in this country. Have a little, I don't know, if you don't have any stake in this country, what's the point in it? One of the other big beliefs I have when it comes to having a stake in the country, and this is not a talked about thing, but I think it's a pretty popular belief, but people just don't talk about it in our government. But
why are minors taxed? If you're under the age of 18 and you can't vote, why are you taxed? Last I heard, no taxation without representation. What is that? Why are these people under 18 being taxed? Why, when I started working, you get your working papers at 14, where I grew up. I got my working papers at 14, so from 14 to 18, why was I being taxed? I didn't get to vote. That's ridiculous. It's cruel. And I would even possibly go a step further and even say, if you turn 18, you shouldn't have to vote until the next election season if you didn't get to vote in that one. Again, and the primary season. Again, no taxation without representation. It's a basic American principle. It all brings it back to, what is this? Who is James Pascaludes? What is America Unfiltered? America Unfiltered is pushing America First values, pushing stuff like that. This is what we need. We need America First values in this country. I don't know why people don't love that all the time, why they think that America needs to be the savior of everybody else. And I'm not saying we shouldn't save people. We should. I love that America puts their lives on the line for other people. It's selfless. It's one of the things that makes America beautiful. But we do it too much. We can admit that. We can admit that we shouldn't have sent Ukraine $300 billion. We can admit that most of the money was stolen and laundered. We heard that from Zelensky himself. The video in the White House, he literally said, I only got like $78 billion, which again, $78 billion is a lot. But it's not $300 billion. That's not even half. It is ridiculous. I don't know, if the majority of America understood how politics actually worked, and that like Republicans and Democrats are really friends behind closed doors, most of them. Like, some of them hate each other, but most of it's a show, most of it's a game. Democrats and Republicans, it's the old school. We're in this new age. There's conservatives and liberals, there's rightists and leftists, and now hopefully this new America Party, which I would be a proud part of, because I think the America Party is going to be pushing these America First values that I'm pushing. I push these America First values every day because they mean something to me. Because I've talked about this before. You cut me open, I'll bleed red, white, and blue. This country is everything to me. I'm so proud of the founders of this nation. I'm proud of what they built. I'm proud of the people who built the greatest cities in this nation. I'm proud of the GDP and the economy growth we have. I'm proud of almost everything. The things I'm not proud of are the fact that we shipped all our domestic labor over to foreign labor. I'm not proud of the fact that we have devalued our dollar to essentially nothing now. It is worthless. The dollar is going nowhere. It's one of the reasons, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I encourage people to invest in certain cryptos, specifically Bitcoin, because they're not making any more of it. They're not just printing it out. You don't have Jerome Powell and you don't have the Fed just sitting there just printing money all day. It's not sustainable. It is devalued. Like, tomorrow, your dollar is worth less than it is today. And next week, same thing. And in a year, same thing. And we need to fix that. We need to fix this immediately, because I'm tired of it and my generation's tired of it. And people don't understand, but my generation's loud. We were the first generation to be mass introduced to social media on this scale. People argue, oh, millennials had Facebook and things. It was very different. Facebook was a slower rollout, and while it did come out fast, my generation was on Facebook at the same time, and we had Instagram, Snapchat, we had Twitter, we had and then we had the video chatting platforms. We had Uvu, we had Skype, we had Vine, now you have TikTok. My generation, the generations below me, are so more outspoken than the generations before. And they're the ones who are going to revolt. And I hope it doesn't happen. I don't want to see there be a revolution. I don't want to live through the revolution in America, because I'm going to put myself in line in it. If there's a revolution, depending on what it's fought over, I guess, I'll most likely be, I can't imagine I'm siding with the government. Could be, it depends on what it is. But the American people will always resist to a tyrannical government. And I don't think we have a tyrannical government. I'm not saying Trump's a dictator. I don't think that at all. It's the last thing I think. I think that we have tyrannical bureaucrats and systems that make it impossible for real voices to be heard. Some could argue that Donald Trump is one of the first real presidents we've had since JFK, that most presidents have been just put in by these parties, by the Democratic and conservative parties, little people getting primaried in, or like without some form of propaganda or persuasion to the American people. And obviously you're going to try and persuade them, but in an extremely aggressive, unconventional, unethical way they've been doing it. So I think Donald Trump, like I said, I think he's one of the first real presidents we've actually had since JFK. And right now I'm even questioning that because of this Iran thing. I still think he's doing great. It's not me questioning a lot of the things he's doing outside of the Israel-Iran conflict. But that was a massive deal to a lot of Americans. A lot of America First patriots got upset about that. And it clicked something in their brain that said, okay, like I've watched Donald Trump kill it for 6 straight months. And then I watched Donald Trump mess up in a way that was big enough for me to question it all. And the Trump administration needs to look at that. And they need to realize that in 2016 and 2020, he ran on America First and he was self-funded. And then in 2024, he took millions of dollars from different donors, hundreds of millions of dollars from different donors, foreign lobbyists, people in America, people like Elon Musk and the Adelson family. And you see what happened. I don't think Elon Musk had anything to do with the Israel-Iran conflict, but the Adelson family most likely. And then you also saw AIPAC gave $100 million to Kamala in case Trump lost. So they were covered on both sides. The Israel-Iran conflict would have happened either way. Foreign lobbying is so invested in our government. And intelligence is one of the, like, U.S. has great intelligence, but there are other countries with great intelligence too. Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson talked about the Mossad intelligence in the United States and how Tucker thinks they should get Mossad out of the United States because why should we fund people to spy against us? Which I agree. Why would you disagree with that? If you're an American, how are you disagreeing with the idea that we should be removing people who are spying on Americans who are not Americans? What, like, are you pro-America? I don't know if Ted Cruz is. He's not American. He's a Canadian who is now an American, but he doesn't have the birth ties to America like a lot of the people in our government do, I think, care a little bit more. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene cares more about this country than Ted Cruz. And I don't think it's crazy to say that someone who was born in a country cares more about it than someone who wasn't born in a country. Because if you weren't born in a country, you most likely have alliances to multiple countries. If you immigrated here from Italy, you are going to have strong ties to Italy. And you are also going to possibly have strong ties to America because you now live in America. But you're also going to have strong ties to Italy. I think American politicians should have strong ties to America. I think the role of the American government is to represent the American people, and it is to instill the values of America and the American people and instill the will of the American people. So when people who don't have ties to the American community beyond just a few years of living here are in our government, that seems pretty corrupt to me. It seems like we're not listening to our founders at all when they said, stop making foreign alliances, stop dealing with foreign affairs, and stop creating these political parties. We're going to come back to that statement a couple times today, like we just did. I think it's one of the most important things our founders ever said, and the fact that we ignored it is one of the biggest falls in this country. I don't want America to fall. You've seen some people talking about this in mainstream conservatism, but America is the modern-day Roman Empire. America is in almost every way the modern way Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire was considered one of the strongest empires, and it fell. And it was like us. We were aggressive in an imperialistic way like them. We expanded our territory. We instilled our views over people. We have a fairly democratic system. We were able to use representative government. In a lot of ways, we're like the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire, like we've talked about, was extremely strong. Now with the modern day of communication, technological espionage, I do see that America will have its downfall if we don't course correct, if we don't get these America First policies in play, because people are just thinking about, oh, I don't want to upset this person, so I can't say these things because they're America First. But you can't always think that's small-minded in the sense of we're in a war, a generational war with certain countries. We're in a generational war with China that we will lose. China is trying to destroy America, and they're not trying to just do it every day. They're trying to do it every century. They're trying to do it over decades and over centuries and hundreds of years. They are playing this long game. Like, I've talked about this over the last few episodes a lot. They have generational values that America will not have because we do not reproduce, and we are not as family valued as them. They have strong family values in China. They value work ethic. They value honoring your parents. Things that are basically bordering religion. Things that if this country showed more of, I'm not saying everyone in this country needs to be religious, but if the country kept its morality from religion in a lot of ways, not every way, I think there's the separation of church and state, but if we can continue to derive some of our morality from religion, I think it would be best for the world. I really want more people to understand that, yes, you don't have to be religious, but you can still act in ways that a religious person would act. You can be nice to your neighbor. You can, again, honor your parents. You can forgive people. You can do the things that they teach in the Christian church, and other churches teach as well. I think the Christian church is the one I speak of because, one, it's the religion I follow. I'm a Catholic. And two, God was mentioned multiple times in our founding documents by our father. They understood that there should be a separation of church and state, that the church should not rule the government. But they do understand that there are great morals in religion, and that those morals lead to a strong society where people benefit each other and a society can grow and flourish. It's the way we were able to build these cities. If you look up the stories of how America, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, some of our biggest cities and best cities in this country were built, it was built by these strong Christian immigrants who wanted to promote positive values. I think we need to get back to that. And again, I'm not saying everyone needs to be religious. I want everyone who doesn't know where their morality comes from, think about that. If you're not religious, think about, why do you think it's wrong to murder? Why do you think it's wrong to say hate speech? Is it because you just think it's wrong? So does that mean you create in your mind what's right and wrong? Because you could just create terrible lines at that point. You could say, no, it's actually correct for me to just hurl rocks at people because I don't like them. If you're creating your own lines of morality and you're not deriving your lines of morality from anywhere, that's a problem. And that's where liberals are right now in the world, is they have no morality. And I'm not saying all of them, but the people in our government have no direction from where their morality comes from. I at least know my morality comes from the Catholic Church. I know where my values come from. And even not all the values I have from the Catholic Church, I know I have values from my parents. I have values from the way the town I was brought up in, from my school. Like I said, the school is an indoctrination. It teaches you a lot of things. You're going to learn a lot of things, and your parents aren't going to be able to instill all their values in you when you're spending 8 hours a day at a public school. I think school is very necessary for people. A lot of people are switching to homeschool as well, which I support too. I think school choice is the most important way to fix this, though. I think if you gave school choice to people, it would get rid of a lot of the bad schools pretty fast. A lot of the schools where 0 people pass a year, you would see people moving from those schools to the places where people are passing. And yes, you would see a decline in those rates a little, because there are going to be the outliers who just don't want to do work, don't want to pay attention, things like that, people who misbehave, people who aren't going to do their schoolwork. But you are going to see a general uptick in people's IQ levels. You're going to see a general uptick in people's learning abilities and what they are learning, and their reading comprehension, their math skills, all these things. And these are important things because those things are at all-time lows. We've talked about this, but I think there's 60 different schools in Chicago where kids in high school cannot read. And that's a proven statistic that I want every one of my listeners to look up. There are over 60 schools in Chicago alone where no kids in the school can read. That's embarrassing. That's sad. That's failing kids. That's, at a point, it's not like it is the children's fault a little bit, because again, what are you doing? But it's the parents' fault. Teach your kids to read. Teach your kids that they have to pay attention. And I'm not advocating for you to beat your kids, but if your kid is in high school and he cannot read, a smack in the back of the head is not going to kill him. Are you serious? A little tune-up? What? Come on. Let's get these kids in line. Kids need to fear their parents as well. I think kids need to fear their parents the same way they fear God. I think if you don't have fear of authority, then you're going to have a generation of terrible, what I call wild boys. The boys who have no direction, no rule. They have no faith and no guidance and no line of morality. They derive their own morality in their mind. They are wild children, wild boys, and they're out of control. They're everywhere around this world. We're continuing to see more of them when we have this lack of direction, lack of parenting. We need parents to be better. We need parents to be more active. We need to create a system that can support a household where parents aren't forced to send their kids into childcare. Parents need to be able to take care of their own kids. I think if we were able to create a system that allowed a one household income, not only would it be a huge FU to the government, because the only reason they wanted to push for more people in the workforce was for higher taxes, but now they made it essential. So it went from a thing where it was like you weren't allowed to at all, and then you didn't have to, and then now it's essential. And we just need to get back to the didn't have to. It's, again, women should be able to work. Women should be able to accomplish everything and anything a man could accomplish in the workplace. No one's disagreeing with that. Everyone supports that. But we got to just get back to common sense. But we need to get to a place where it's affordable, where if women want to start a family, they're able to stay at home and take care of their children for the first few years. They're able to be supported by their husband's job. They're able to be supported by a country that inspires the growth of families and children. And they're able to be supported by a growing economy and by lowering the housing costs. It's one of the things I've talked about a lot. And one of the things I mentioned earlier in this episode, the Republicans and Democrats are all on the same team. And if you look at who's funding both sides of them, it's a lot of the same lobbyists, a lot of the same companies, and BlackRock is one of the biggest ones. Beyond APEC and stuff like that, I think BlackRock is one of the biggest problems in this country. Yes, they are extremely successful. They do some great things, but at the same time, they do some terrible things. And if you removed asset managers over $100 million from buying single-family homes, you would fix the single-family home market in the United States almost immediately. Charlie Kirk talks about this. Matt Walsh talks about this. Tucker Carlson talks about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene talks about this. And then you have bipartisan support on this too. Tulsi Gabbard talks about this. You've heard Rachel Maddow, who I disagree with on almost everything, talk about this. You have seen Don Lemon, who again I disagree with a lot on, talk about this. I think Don Lemon's a race baiter. I think Don Lemon tries to pull race into literally everything. He wants to make everything about race or his sexuality, when in reality some of his takes are just dumb. It's not, people don't just hate him because of he loves to play victim, but that's not what it is. Don Lemon, yes, you have done some okay things in your career, but you have also done some terrible things in your career, and it's okay to admit that. Reporters do that. If I was to sit here and say every one of my shows has been great, I would be lying. I know there's some shows where I've either half-assed it, some shows where in the beginning especially, I sucked at doing this. I literally just started it because I was passionate about politics and wanted to get into it. And I was like, yeah, why wait? Let's just throw myself right into it. Let's start talking about what I can. And that's what I did. And over time, I've gotten better at it. And I'm still not great. Hopefully in 4 years, I'm a lot better. But you get the point. Like, it's a development. It's not an instant thing. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to have 4 to 5 kids. I want to put them through private school. I want to be able to be successful in this country. When you have people saying that billionaires shouldn't exist, like Mamdani, like, that's delusional, dude. Do you know who funds most of the jobs, who creates most of the jobs? Do you know how many jobs Jeff Bezos creates, whether you agree or disagree with all of his politics? Or Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg? Billionaires create a lot of jobs. They stimulate the economy. Billionaires are good for this country, and it's the American dream. If you say we shouldn't have billionaires, why would people be incentivized to grow their companies past a certain point? It's selfish and stupid, and it's just a lack of common and financial literacy. It's just, like, Mamdani is what is wrong with America in so many ways, and his socialistic, it's really just communism. It's what we said we were going to fight in Vietnam, communism, the spread of communism. We're now allowing it in New York City. Just calling it democratic socialism. No, it's communism. It is corruption. It's freezing your rent, raising the taxes in white neighborhoods. We're gonna tax the white man. We're gonna show up to the white man's door and tax him. That's your new mayor in New York City. What are we coming to? It's just blatant racism. Reverse racism is racism. One of my other problems. People over the last few years, like, one thing I hate, and I personally really hate it, and Charlie Kirk says a very similar thing. Charlie Kirk talks about, he debates thousands of college kids, and I've watched almost them all. Charlie Kirk, when he debates college kids, and he'll debate some African Americans, he'll debate people of all races. When he debates black college kids, a lot of them will say, oh, but your ancestors probably owned slaves, but his didn't, and neither did mine. So when people want to say that, and again, it's not all people, but there's liberals in our government, and there's liberals on social media, and liberals in the media, specifically Rachel Maddow and people on CNN, who say that white people are racist and that we all own slaves, and they generalize white people as this, oh, you guys used to be racist category. Are you kidding me? There were people in the North who were white. Do you know that? Do you know who started the Civil War? Do you understand history at all? Do you know that Italians and Irish people and A lot of these immigrants came over in like the 20s, in the 1920s, way past slavery. What are you talking about? What are you trying to get at? What are these Democrats trying to push with this like anti-white narrative sometimes? And it's not all Democrats, but it's Democrats in our government. Reverse racism is racism. Saying that you want to tax white people extra is racist. And just because it's to white people doesn't mean it's not. Just because you want to say all white people are slave owners, it's the equivalent to me saying all black people are descendants of slaves. They're not. They're people who came from all different areas. They're people who immigrated over at different times. It's not true. And if you look at the history of slavery, it's one of the ugliest things in this country, but it's one of the ugliest things in every country, and American white people were the first people to end slavery, actually. We ended slavery in America way before they ended slavery in Africa. These people are still enslaved there every day. It's terrible what happens. They need to stop slavery throughout the world, but that will never happen. Slavery will never stop. On some level, it's human nature to some people, not to us in America because we're a forward progressed society, but to less progressed societies, it is what happens. That's how they built the pyramids. It's how they built a lot of the infrastructure back in the day before they had machinery. It's what happens in underdeveloped nations. But America and white people in America were the first people in the world to ban this. So I don't understand why we're the racist ones. I don't get that. I don't get people calling conservatives racist just because of their skin color. That seems racist, don't you think? It seems a little, I don't know. Liberals love to destroy their own arguments. I don't know why I'm surprised. It's one of the things where it's just, come on. Can Republicans just, do we have to win all the time? Does it have to be so easy? I debate a lot of liberals, and it's never been easier. The delusional arguments I debate and topple and dismantle are so easy. People want to defend socialism like it's not communism. Socialism and communism have led to the death of over 300 million people over time. America is a little over 300 million people. I don't want America to fall. I don't want communism to take over this country. Communism's terrible. There's no growth and sustainability in communism, and it's all tyranny in the end. That's what it is. And you see literally our greatest cities turning into communist states because that's what the government wants. Why wouldn't they want total control over the citizens over time? They want to take our guns because they want total control. Yes, Americans have guns for basic self-defense rights. People conceal carry all around, especially in Florida, and open carry in states like Texas. And they want to defend their homes against invaders. And if they have families specifically, definitely defend their homes against invaders. But they also have guns for the Second Amendment. You have the right to form a well-regulated militia to face tyranny, to destroy tyranny. That is what America is founded on. The fact that if our government gets too out of line, it is written in our Constitution that we are not only have the right, but we are supposed to overthrow that government. That if our government gets so out of line, so communist, and so much like a dictatorship, that it is our duty as Americans and as patriots to overthrow that government and reset a new structure that puts America first. This is why I love our founders. They were geniuses. These things withstand time. Come and try and take the guns of millions of Americans and watch what happens. You will see the Civil War end very fast. Conservatives own the most guns in this country. Liberals do own guns too. A lot of the media likes to paint it like it's just conservatives. Liberals own guns too. Mainly handguns and shotguns though. Not as many AR-15s and some of the like crazier stuff you see out there. AKs, some of the more fun stuff in America. But liberals have guns. People want to protect themselves. People understand that. But we need to make it more accessible for people that have guns. We need to take some of the limitations away on these things. Like I've talked about, there are tax stamps on silencers. A silencer literally makes your neighbors' lives better. It helps your ears. It can help your shooting accuracy as well, your recoil, things like that. So quicker follow-up shots if it's needed. If someone breaks in your house and your wife and children, you have a newborn baby in the next room, and that person breaking in the door has a gun, and you have to decide, is me, my wife, and my child going to die today, or is that man? You should pick that man's life every day. That man should die every day, because one, he's breaking into your house to have no right. That's one of the most, the castle doctrine. You cannot break into somebody's house. They have the ability to execute you. That is the law in America, especially in Florida. Again, stand your ground here in the state of Florida. Do not break into someone's house. The amount of people, the amount of friends I have in Florida who you go over to their house You walk in their first front door, and then you walk in that little, they have a screen front door, and then you walk in the other one, and the other front door has a sign on it that says, if you made it this far, I would turn around, with a picture of a shooting target with all just little no shot spread, all bullseyes, and you can see that it's not always just like a 22 or a 9mm. People are shooting like 5.7s, 5.56s. Like, people, there's some fun stuff going on, especially in Florida. People are not messing around here, and we just saw a thing, like, it happened just a few weeks ago here. A guy tried to break into someone's house, and he got shot, I think, like 87 times. And the cops said, or the reporter said to the sheriff, why do you shoot him 87 times? He was like, I just wish we had more bullets. We ran out. That's why we stopped. We had 87 bullets in the clips. So, yeah, that's why I love Florida sheriffs. They put Americans first. They put Floridians first. They don't care about criminals. If you're breaking into someone's house and you're armed and you're dangerous, you're putting someone else's life on the line so you can kill them or you can get some goods out of their house or whatever it is, you deserve to be executed. That is America. That's what this country was founded on. And again, if the homeowner doesn't want to do it themselves, I'm glad we have police officers, especially in the state of Florida, who are willing to do that. It's what we need. We need less criminals. When we send someone to jail, your tax dollars are funding their meals, their bed they sleep in. This is the one reason I love that Florida puts pedophiles to death, because it actually upsets me on a real personal level that my tax dollars fund pedophiles' lives in jail. And it's not that it just funds their lives in jail. It funds an entire separate unit. Pedophiles, just like cops, get their own separate unit in prison because they get killed so often, like they should. Because pedophiles are the worst people to exist. You murder someone and all their problems end right there. Again, their family has a ton of issues, but all their problems end right then and there. You molest a child, and that child's life is essentially ruined forever. Yes, people can overcome, and there are exceptions to the rule, but that child will never mentally get over that, and that child will have so many messed up things, a messed up sexual life, a messed up view on reality, a unwillingness to trust people, because you violated a child. I talk about being Catholic a lot. This happened in the Catholic Church. Massive scandal was exposed. I think it was exposed in Boston. They made a great movie about it, Spotlight. And again, I don't not speak out against that either. I think every one of those people and the people who protected them should be held accountable. The fact that the Catholic Church protected pedophiles upset me. And it's one of the reasons that I actually stopped this is weird for me to talk about, but there was a period in my life where I just wasn't religious at all and almost denounced it, and actually did denounce it, committed blasphemy. I would never do that again, but I did it because I saw the things that the Catholic Church hid, and I only read certain sides of it. I didn't read the sides of it of the priests who were speaking out against it and the higher-ups who were speaking out against it. There was a lot of messed up things and a lot of protection that happened, but it wasn't everyone protecting everyone. It was smaller groups protecting these pedophiles. And while it was a vast network, it was 6% of them, they estimated, they were able to expose a lot of the corruption. They were able to try and move forward a lot, and they were able to eliminate a lot of it out of the Catholic Church, which I think is important. The fact that obviously every institution is going to get corrupted over time. I've talked about this. I talk about it right now with the Republicans and the Democrats, our entire political institution. I think America itself is being corrupted by communism and socialism. So why is it crazy to think that a religion was corrupted? I think Christians have been corrupted. I think Judaism has been corrupted. And I think Muslims have been corrupted. No one's an exception to the rule. Everyone has been corrupted in some way. There are Muslim countries right now where it's legal to marry a 9-year-old. And if you look and read the Quran, you can beat your wife. I've actually read the Quran myself because I wanted to understand different religious texts. But yes, you can beat your wife according to the Quran as long as it's not too bad. You can have up to 4 wives in Sharia law, and their God had sex with a 9-year-old. That's a little odd to me. Those are all facts in the Quran. I've read the Quran myself. Again, if anyone doesn't believe these things, Google them or just read the Quran yourself, ask AI, any form of informing yourself, knowledge, whatever. But these things are all true. And then Judaism as well. There's weird traditions with Orthodox Jews, and it's not all Jews, but a very small percentage of them. Specifically, when they circumcise the baby, the rabbi who does it will then suck the baby's penis. That's pedophilia. That's disgusting. Those people should be rooted out of society immediately. I'm not saying Jews. I'm saying the people who suck the penises of babies. And if anyone disagrees with me on that, please come on my show and debate me on it. I would love to hear your argument for why you think it's okay for a man to put his mouth on a baby's genitalia. I want to understand your position. I'll even write Chris Hansen a letter before to get him on the show so he could ask you some follow-up questions, because you should be in jail. That is disgusting if anyone believes that should happen. And it's disgusting that people let it happen. Imagine you just had a baby, one of the most beautiful things you can do in life, and then your baby's getting circumcised, which that's another thing. They love to talk about bodily autonomy for women, but has any man ever decided whether he himself got to get circumcised or not? No. So again, until we talk about that conversation, let's put some of bodily autonomy conversations away when it's about a baby, not even about the person. So it's pretty crazy how that gets twisted. But the fact that people still support what happens there, again, it's just crazy. And it's not me saying people should not be Muslim. It's not me saying people should not be Jewish or not be Christian or not be Catholic because of the things that happen in these religions. Again, every religion, every social system, every political system, even sports teams, they're going to get corrupted. They're going to get infiltrated. You're going to have bad actors and bad characters, and there's going to be bad faith, and there's going to be things that are really wrong. But the key is acknowledging those things and removing them. I want to see Judaism remove the sucking of babies' genitals, and I want to see Islam or Muslim religions removing beating your wife, marrying 4 women, and that their God had sex with a 9-year-old, and that's honored because in Iraq you can now marry a 9-year-old. So that's the age of consent for a woman in Iraq is not a woman. I put it in air quotes because that is not a woman. That is a child. The people there who are marrying 9-year-olds, again, it almost makes me support the invasion of Iraq, which I don't. But like, these people are terrible if they're doing that. These are things that need to change. And yes, there are still Catholic priests doing these too. They need to change. The priests need to change. They need to be removed and dead and jailed. The Catholic Church needs to keep removing these people. They've done a great job of it so far, but they need to continue pushing it. The work hasn't stopped. There are still pedophiles out there in religion who use God as a prop to molest children, who use God as a weapon against children and use their faith against them to violate these kids. God's children are not for sale. The worst people in the world are the people who test that, and God will deal with them in the long run. I truly believe that anyone who violated a child will be dealt with for eternity in hell in the worst possible ways. I have full faith that God will do that because that's justice, and God is good, and God is justice, and God is a lot of great things. God is what essentially founded America in a lot of ways. Again, our founding documents, God is mentioned in it, I think over 5 times. It's instilled in us. Like I've talked about, I want to come back to the morality. It's the morality of it all. It's the where does right and wrong come from? Where does it come from to respect your elders? Where does it come from to respect authority? Where does it come from that murder is bad and cheating is bad and faith is good and faithfulness is good and respecting your neighbor? Where does all that come from for people who aren't religious? Where do they draw those lines? We need to draw better lines, people. Even if you're not religious, we need to get morality from better places because the morality of a lot of people in this country right now it's going downhill. There are people starting like the day they turn 18, starting OnlyFans. It's just people getting into porn. Porn is one of the most destructive things in this nation. I've talked time and time again about how porn should be banned. Florida has banned it. Texas has banned it. Certain states have banned it. And they should continue to ban it. I tweeted out, I think, every single day that they should ban porn until they finally did in Florida, and I was so happy that they did. It's so destructive to the young minds of children, specifically the minds of young males. Young males producing testosterone, going through puberty, when they see porn, they should really do long-term studies on what it does to the male human brain because it is so addicting. The online porn categories, the online porn atmosphere that they've built. It's not just the hustler magazines and My Angel is a Centerfold anymore. There's anything and everything for any people in the world to go see, and the people who start watching porn at younger ages develop weirder things over time. Eventually they become less stimulated to the porn they were watching in the beginning, and they start having to watch more graphic things. And I'm not going to talk about it past this because, again, I don't want to talk about stuff like that. But that's the problem. They're always like, oh yeah, we want to legalize these things. It's not going to go that far. And then now we have 18-year-olds just signing up for OnlyFans every single day. Porn shouldn't be legal in the first place. I'm even against Playboys. I'm against like all that stuff. Like it's hedonism, it's grotesque, it's not moral. It goes against American values. Prostitution is not legal in America, and I agree with that. And if you out there agree that prostitution should stay illegal in America, then you should be against the porn industry too, because porn is prostitution that's videoed and sold. Name me the other difference. Prostitution is paying a woman to have sex with you. Porn is paying a woman to have sex with you, but videoing it and just distributing it to people. And then 33% of the people watching that are going to be under the age of 18. 38% of the people who are subscribing to OnlyFans women are under the age of 18. So women are making custom videos for 14-year-old boys, sexual videos. And again, I'm not going to go into more detail about that. You can figure out what a custom video means. I don't even want to know. But that's a problem. These are problems in America. These are things that if we don't fix, America will continue to go downhill. I love this country, but I want the country I was promised as a boy. I want the country that my grandpa talked to me about. I want the country that you see in the movies. I want the America where Americans love America, where you're waving an American flag in your house or outside your house, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that you're just proud to be an American. I want to see an America where we're not seeing all our dollars go to waste, fraud, and abuse, where we're not getting taxed out the wazoo on everything. Everything is taxed. You buy something, it's taxed. You import something, you export something, it's taxed. You pay tax at the end of the year. Your paycheck's taxed, your Social Security's taxed. Like, everything is taxed. They need to lower the taxes in a lot of ways. The tax is part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, or some of the greatest parts of it. But then, like I've talked about, the AI parts and some of the other parts are so bad, and it makes it unvotable. They need to chop it up into 3 bills, cut 1 or 2 of them. But people like Thomas Massie are what we need in this country. People like Elon Musk. I don't love Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she does some great things. I don't agree with her in every way. I don't want to say I don't love her. I think there are some great things she does, but again, she voted for the One Big Beautiful Bill without even reading the whole thing. That's moronic. Come on, like, do better. You are a paid sitting House representative. That is your job. That is your only job, actually. But she does make good points. Like, she spent millions of her dollars personally campaigning for Trump to only speak out against her when she spoke out against the One Big Beautiful Bill. I don't love that Trump does that always. Trump's got to stop speaking out against anyone that speaks out against him who's a Republican. Not every Republican has to align with what Donald Trump wants or thinks, and I don't think he thinks that necessarily. He obviously knows it would make his job easier if it would happen, and that we have a shit house in the Senate, that even though we have the Republican control, we can't get anything through, and that's a lot because of Democrats, but it's also because of the neocons and because conservatives are working against each other. It brings me back to the point of Democrats and Republicans. The parties, they're falling. They're going against each other. Right now you see the neocons being pitted against the non-war lobby and the non-Israel lobby. Like, I'm not against Israel. I'm not against Canada. I'm not against Mexico. I'm against a lot of things they do and a lot of the ways they treat the United States, but I am against sending money there. I am against sending foreign aid to countries who undermine the United States. I am against sending foreign aid to most countries. Like I said, we need to get back to the founding principles of this country, not having the foreign alliances we have. I think there are some maybe necessary foreign alliances, but nobody has, I've made this argument to multiple Democrats and multiple conservatives. Nobody's ever been able to negate my argument of why aren't we allies with someone like Russia right now instead of Canada and Mexico? What is Canada and Mexico doing to benefit us that we couldn't get from a country like Russia? And again, I'm not saying I agree with everything that Putin does. He's a dictator, but it's good to have diplomacy with dictators. Why would you not want to have diplomacy with a dictator? It's good when Donald Trump shook the hands of Kim Jong-un. It's good when he shook the hands of President Putin. These are things that need to happen. And whether he's a dictator or not, diplomacy is important. Foreign relations are important. Putting the America First movement is the most important. I really want this America First party to happen. This Donald Trump, Elon Musk Part 2 is one of the more exciting things in politics right now. Like, we're seeing it up front and close. I don't love it because, like I said, there's being children and boys and arguing like children, but it's one of the most fun things in the sense of we get to see up close what it's like when billionaires argue. That's an interesting topic. We get to see up close what it's like when they disagree over such monumental issues, and you have the entire conservative base splitting up. Like, you have half the side going with Elon, and then you have the cat turd-led people following Trump. And if people don't understand my cat turd reference, cat turd is a Twitter account. It's the somehow the voice of the mainstream conservative party. And if you don't believe me or not, go search Cat Turd on Twitter. It has over 4 million followers, maybe more at this point, and it is one of the voices of mainstream conservatism. One of the biggest voices in the Republican politics, believe it or not, again, he's not a bad guy. I think he's like a 60-year-old war veteran or something, the guy who runs it. I'm not 100% sure. He runs his own show, which I've watched a couple times. It's pretty good. He's an absolute shill for Donald Trump. No matter what Trump says, he agrees with it. He doesn't disagree with anything Trump says, come on, let's be better than that. Let's understand that, yes, Donald Trump is doing a lot of great things. He has instilled a lot of great values into America, but like, how are you going to argue that Iran and like bombing them while our assets and troops in the area were still good? That's America first. Like, making the argument that we should get rid of their nuclear program, okay, but negate my argument about our troops and our military assets and letting our ally bomb them and undermine us surprisingly without telling us while we still had those assets in the area. Because that pisses me off. That upsets me. That violates the trust of there are allies, but they're not acting like it. And again, Canada's not either. They just bent the knee to Trump the other day because Trump stopped the trade negotiations. But like, why were they even trying to tax us like that in the first place on our technology? And then Mexico too. Literally, the president of Mexico was talking about how we need to have more violent protests in the streets of LA. Not just more protests, more violent protests. More illegal immigrants go stand up violently in the streets of LA. Go wave your Mexican flags and burn American flags. That's an act of war. That's terrible. And Mexican government is so corrupt. I think it was over 140 candidates died in their last political election. Just died. I wonder how that happens. It's same way how like certain people in the Clinton administration just disappear, or like Obama had 2 chefs drown. These things don't just happen. These are planned things. These are planned things. These are things that were carefully executed by the establishment, by the swamp that Trump was allegedly trying to drain. I still think in a lot of ways he wants to drain the swamp. I don't think Trump understands what the full range of the swamp actually is, though, now. I think Trump has been part of the swamp when it comes to the foreign lobbying. I think the foreign lobbying is one of the biggest parts of the swamp that Trump is not seeing. Yes, the 3-letter agencies, the unknown ones that we don't know about, and the waste, fraud, and abuse of our tax dollars, that's part of the swamp. But so is the foreign lobbyists who aren't registered as foreign lobbyists in the United States, like AIPAC. They're lobbying for Israel in America, not registered as a foreign lobby. How is that draining the swamp to keep them in there? How is that draining the swamp to fulfill their wishes of a regime change? Because you hear what's happening with Netanyahu right now. You hear what he's saying in the media that, they're now a couple months away from a nuclear program again, even after the U.S. allegedly destroyed it. We're going to need this regime change soon. That's what Netanyahu is saying right now. Again, I can't trust Bibi Netanyahu. I can't touch the guy with the 10-foot pole because I can't trust him. The guy lies. He's corrupt. He is on trial for corruption. I think if a president has a 30% approval rating in their own country and then like a 90% approval rating in the country that funds them, that seems like more of a instilled dictator than a actual representative of their government. And I'm not saying that Bibi Netanyahu is a dictator. I'm just saying he doesn't seem like a fair representation of the state of Israel or what the people of Israel actually want. Because why does he only have a 30% approval rating? Why is he on trial for corruption? And why are they constantly delaying these trials and impeachments and things like that? These are questions I want to answer. Trump speaking up for Bibi, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. The one statement Trump said that I did have a problem with was he basically said Israel's as great of a country as America. And again, I have no problem if the president wants to like hype up our allies. If you want to say Israel's a great country, Israel, you're number 2 even. Okay, America's number 1. And if you're the American president, you better say that. Are you kidding me? I don't want the American president saying this country is as good as us. No. We're America. We are the greatest country in the world. We are the leaders of the free world. We have the largest GDP, the best military. We have the best population. America is the land of the free because of the brave. And I never want to hear an American president saying that America is anything but the greatest country in the world. We are the greatest country in the world. We will continue to be the greatest country in the world. We will continue to grow as the greatest country in the world if we can fix these problems that I'm talking about. I think the America First movement is so much bigger in my generation, and I think you're starting to see it a little bit in my parents' generation in some ways. I think the parents who are able to observe the fact that their kids are not able to live the same lives they were able to live, that we are also entrenched in our phones and social media, and that we aren't able to afford homes. There's more credit card debt than ever in today's society. People are more depressed than ever. People are taking more SSRIs, more drug use statistically. Suicide is way up. These are all huge problems. It's like, I think the parents who see that are starting to get on this America First movement a little bit. Slowly but surely, we're red pilling them. We're just like the Matrix. You got two pills. You take the blue one, you take the red one. The blue one, and you can go back to your delusional fantasy world where everything's perfect and the population's not collapsing and crime is at all-time lows. But that's not true. Or you can take the red pill and realize that we need to fix crime. We need to fix a lot of the problems we have in our country. We need to limit AI in some ways. We need to also sustain growth for this country. We need more morals for this country. We need people to build families, rebuild the nuclear family, and sustain the nuclear family over time and not let it be destroyed again. The destruction of the nuclear family is one of the biggest things. Like, Democrats push against it. I talked about this earlier. They said, the kids aren't your kids, they're our kids. No, they are not. That is how you start a revolution with my generation. You do not touch our kids. You do not take our kids. God's children are not for sale, and they're definitely not to the government. The parents have the right to instill the values over the children, and that's how it will be forever. And that's why I love that we have states' rights, federal rights as well. I think the states having rights over things is one of the most important things. One of my biggest oppositions to the One Big Beautiful Bill is the federal government's regulations over AI, and if states draw money from the federal government that they can't regulate AI in their state for 10 years. That is absurd. Donald Trump, let me ask you, what is your problem with cutting that out of the bill? Who is funding that part to be in the bill? Because why are you putting that in there? That is the one big reason why so many people don't want to vote for it. Like, a lot of people don't want to vote for it because the debt ceiling and what Elon Musk is saying. But people like Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene aren't even really talking about that part of it. They're just talking about the part that I'm saying. The AI regulations are absurd. They should not exist. They're borderline tyrannical. I really want them to remove the tyrannical part of the One Big Beautiful Bill because it makes it not so beautiful. There are other parts in it, but like I said, there's so many good things in it. Extending the Trump 2017 tax cuts is amazing. I think the NFA regulations, again, amazing. Why wouldn't you vote for that? Why wouldn't you vote to support millions of American Second Amendment rights and like their ear protection rights, essentially, because it's like tax stamps on silencers. What do you have against silencers? It's, like I said, quicker follow-up shots. Makes your ears not kill when you have to discharge a firearm either out of a car or in a close vicinity in a house or whatever it is. Do you know how much ear damage you can cause to a baby if you discharge a 5.56 rifle in a home? But if you're defending your home, that's not unnormal to do. Like that, a 5.56 rifle is a great home defense rifle because the bullets aren't necessarily going to overpenetrate. They're gonna take down the killer immediately or take down the intruder immediately. But it is so painfully loud. Same thing with the 5.7, which is another effective, or a 9mm, another extremely loud weapon, which if you fired in the vicinity of a child could devastate their eardrums, could devastate a growing infant's hearing abilities. So I think parents protecting their children, it's important for them to have them. I think people, new shooters in general, it helps you, like I said, follow up, accuracy, confidence, shot ability because of the hearing, things like that. There's countless advantages to silencers. There's countless advantages in the Second Amendment movement to the NFA regulations being removed. And it goes to some of the stuff I've been talking about before, but I don't like the ATF. I don't like FWC. That's Florida Wildlife. But I don't like all the regulations they do. I don't like that they would just board people's boats and like search for their fishing license. That seems pretty corrupt for no reason. Ron DeSantis changed that, thank God. But there are a lot of things that these corrupt agencies do, especially the ATF. So why don't you see Republicans targeting ATF agents? Why don't you see, like, hard school gun nuts, the crazies in this country, like the liberals want to call them, the whack job nut jobs, the gun nuts in this country? Well, why don't you see them shooting ATF agents and shooting FWC agents or the equivalent in other states? Why don't you see that happening often? Why don't you see them getting attacked like there's a 500% increase in ICE agents getting attacked? It's questions that are unanswered by the Liberal Party and questions that the Liberal Party refuses to answer because they refuse to answer the fact that they don't know where their morality comes from. Their morality is derived from their own minds. And if they want to just go harm federal agents and their families because they disagree with the federal agent's job, it's okay to them. If they want to burn the American flag while waving the Mexican flag and saying that all ICE agents are bastards or all ICE agents should die, I'm not even going to repeat some of the worst things that I heard on the videos that happened in LA, but how are they supporting that? But they aren't supporting the crazy nut jobs, the gun nuts in this country who are peacefully not going against the federal agents. The people who have the destructive weapons, apparently, are the ones who are the safest, which is, again, goes to show my point. A lot of the woke media, a lot of the media is propaganda. They want to tell you that people with guns are dangerous, but I would actually argue that gun-free zones are more dangerous than other zones, because a gun-free zone, you don't have people, good citizens, who carry every day to protect people who carry to protect themselves, the men and women around them, and the children around them specifically. If someone comes to a grocery store, someone comes in a bank, and they try and kidnap a kid or they try and rob the store, and I have the ability to, I'm going to execute that person. Because why is that person allowed to put innocent lives at risk so they can get a cheap financial gain or kidnap a kid or whatever their sick fantasy is that they're in that scenario? We need good citizens standing up for people. We need good guys with guns. You had someone try and go into a church. I think it was in, I want to say Michigan recently. They tried to go into a church with a rifle, and they had tried to drive in, and then they tried to go in with a rifle, and then one of the churchgoers was concealed carrying, as a lot of churchgoers are, especially nowadays with the violence in religious communities that people bring on all religious communities, not even just Christians. But the person at church was able to immediately execute the person with a clean shot to the head. You want to know where a clean shot to the head comes from? Buying a firearm, taking multiple firearm safety and training classes, and then either getting a range membership or just going to the range and spending more money. And most people should just get a membership, a lot cheaper that way. You pay about unlimited time for the same price you'd pay for 2 hours, and you get the whole month. But a range membership, which allows you to practice your shooting. You want to make sure you don't have a big shot spread. You want to make sure that if you're in a self-defense scenario, you're not hitting the lady behind the person who you're trying to execute. Because again, you also want to execute these people. When someone is trying to rob you at gunpoint, when someone is trying to rob a store, a bank, or whatever the situation is, kidnap a kid, you don't want to just shoot to disable. You don't aim for the fleshy part of the thigh. You shoot to fully incapacitate. That is what your goal should be. You will get sued forever. If someone breaks in your house and you shoot them in the leg twice and then they walk away, they're going to get everything they came to break in your house to get and more, and you're going to write them a check on top of that in civil court. Because that's the way the corrupt courts work in this country. And if the same thing in a grocery store, like in a bank, in a lot of these scenarios, and again, there are better states about it like Florida and Texas, but then there are whack states about it like California, New York, and Vermont, and you see some of these like wackier takes on things, and you're like, okay, what is going on? What are the liberals doing? What are they promoting now? These are the problems we're facing in this nation. These are the problems we need to fix in this nation. I just realized I've been filming this one for an hour and 30 minutes. Oh my God. I've been filming this one for a while already. So I'm going to just, while I'm on here, since I've been filming this one for a while, I'm going to refresh the news on my other screen here, see if there's any new headlines, anything I should talk about besides the America First stuff I'm talking about like that, see if there's any popular topics that have happened while I've been filming the last couple hours. Okay. The Sean Diddy Combs trial actually has a big update. It says that Diddy, they're still waiting on the verdict for count 1, but Diddy is being charged for counts 2 through 5, and most of those are rape and pretty terrible charges. So we are going to see some justice with that. Hopefully we'll get some information on the Diddy trials. I don't want to continue supporting people who are molesters, rapists, and people who indulge in these kind of activities. I grew up listening to Jay-Z, and now I'm pretty perplexed by that, because I've come to find out now that he most likely is a rapist. He most likely is heavily involved in this. I don't want to be supporting that. I don't want to be supporting anyone who is involved in this. So I want to find out the artists, the people represented in Hollywood who were at these freak-offs, who were supporting Diddy as he molested children, as he molested police officers, as he molested people. I want to see the evidence of who else was behind it. I want to see the people who wrote letters like they wrote against Drake Bell When Drake Bell was molested as a kid, they talked about this in the Nickelodeon documentary that came out. The amount of people in Hollywood and big names you would know. I can't remember them off the top of my head because I haven't watched the documentary in 2 years. I really should. I'm talking about this point, but everyone can go watch it. But the amount of big names in Hollywood who wrote letters to the court saying that the only reason the man would have molested Drake Bell at 14 years old is Drake must have done something to entice him. Drake must have done something to make this man unable to refuse. That maybe this man was on a medication that justifying pedophilia is what they're doing. They are all pedophiles. They are all, if you're justifying pedophilia, you're just as bad as the person who did it. You are contributing to ruining the life of that child, especially if you're publicly writing your name into a court letter. I really hope everyone in the Sean Diddy Combs trial is able to get arrested. I hope we're able to get justice in names because, like I said, I don't think we're actually going to get the Epstein names. I don't think they exist. I think if they existed, we would have had them by now, and I'm pissed off we don't. It's one of my biggest things I speak out against with Donald Trump right now. I love Donald Trump in a lot of ways, but I hate the fact that it's July 1st and we don't have the Epstein files. Like, I'm going to set a date right here, right now on this show. If by Labor Day we have not had a massive, and I mean like a groundbreaking update on the Epstein case, I'm going to start seriously questioning if what Elon Musk said was true or not. Because why else are we not getting them unless they just don't exist? And when I say they don't exist, it's destroyed. The fact that his house was professionally scrubbed by the FBI before they even got there, the same way the person who shot Trump was. It's another thing I want to talk about that pisses me off. Someone took a shot at our president. A kid took a shot at our president in clear daylight, in the most obvious place. I would never attempt to take a life of a president because I am a red-blooded American. But if I was to attempt to, that would have been the roof I picked. Are you kidding me? That was the most obvious. What? We couldn't put FBI agents on him because of the slope, yet the sniper who shot that kid was on a slope twice as big. Again, if you're saying a slope is too dangerous for FBI agents, get better FBI agents. Stop with your DEI bullshit. Because, what are you talking about? A slope? A slope? Donald Trump, by an act of God, was saved. If you watch the video in slow motion, I urge anyone, search Donald Trump act of God, whether you're religious or not. Donald Trump turned with milliseconds. That was a 5.56 round. For anyone who does not know what a 5.56 round is, Google that as well. 5.56 round is a large bullet. It is mainly used for home defense and things like that, but it will immediately kill somebody, especially to the head. I could have hit that shot. Most people who go to a gun range, even weekly, if not monthly, could hit that shot. It was not a difficult shot, and the only reason that child missed is because Donald Trump turned his head and it went through his ear. And luckily, it's cartilage. What's your ear? It was able to heal pretty well, which is tremendous. But someone took a shot at our president, and what do you know about the man? I don't know anything, and I do research on it. I look it up every day, actually. I look into it daily. I know that he was in a BlackRock ad. I know that his house was professionally scrubbed. There was not even silverware at his house when they searched it. I know that they were able to track that there was a phone going from Washington, D.C. to his house and back to Washington, D.C. in the weeks before the shooting. I know that they said that this person was a registered Republican but took a shot at Donald Trump. I speak out against Donald Trump a lot. It doesn't mean I would take a shot at him. It's just these all seem like plants. These all seem like staged events. It all seems like JFK wanted to inspect the Dimona Project, and look what happened. And I'm not saying that this one was Israel. I'm saying that this one was the Democrats. This one was the liberals. This one was the higher-ups. This one was the, I don't know, maybe it was someone from the Epstein thing. I don't know. But someone convinced this kid to take a shot at Trump, and someone told him, you will be able to get out of there. Because there's no way this kid thought he was getting out of that situation unless someone convinced him, we got this. The Secret Service is protecting you in this one. Someone told him something. And beyond that, it was just an embarrassing day for the Secret Service. There was, on both men and women messing up, but, why are women in Secret Service? And that's not me, again, trying to be offensive. I think women are equal to men in every way, but they're not equal in strength and height and things like that. And yes, there's exceptions to the rule, but why wouldn't you want a big, strong man protecting the president? Why would anyone disagree with that? Why wouldn't you want, a 6'8" jack guy protecting the president who knows all kinds of martial arts and is highly trained and maybe a highly decorated veteran, so highly trained with weapons. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Why would you want a woman who doesn't know how to holster her own weapon? It just doesn't make sense to me. And like, you saw the women like almost like ducking down too. Like, they didn't know what to do. And again, I'm not saying women can't be in roles in the workplace. They should be in almost every role in the workplace. I'm saying that women should not be in Secret Service roles, though. And anyone who wants to disagree with me on that, again, just come debate me on it. Because I think more 6'8", strong, buff, jacked veterans and jacked men should be doing the job. I think that's what security entails, is you want someone taller than you want someone stronger than you want someone who can annihilate any assailant, not only with a weapon, but with their hands, and not in a long combat, in a fast, quick, swift way, and no wasted motion. And that's what we should have in our Secret Service. Like, I remember going to the Spy Museum as a kid and learning about Secret Service, learning about spies, and they're like camping out on the White House and the snipers, and it sounds like this cool, interesting, almost like borderline scary thing. Like, they sound like, oh my god, these guys are basically professional hitmen who just get to kill people who try and bring violence to the president. But then you grow up in like embarrassing videos like that in crucial moments. When the president gets shot at, your country is under attack. Even if it's not a foreign attack, domestic attacks are still attacks. All enemies, foreign and domestic. So that's a huge problem that just went away. It's a huge problem that, what is it? Almost a year now. It was last July it happened. So almost a year now, God saved Donald Trump's life, and we know nothing about the shooter. Why is that? These are the questions I want answers to. I probably at some point will go do a 3-part docuseries on that, the same way I've done a 3-parter on who is James Pascalidi, what is America Unfiltered. America Unfiltered is my way of telling the people that I want America first. I want this country back, baby. I want America to have American values. I want America to build and grow, and I want America to support Americans. I don't want my dollars funding Ukraine wars. I don't want my dollars funding them pulling people with Down syndrome off the street and putting them on the front lines, because it's happening, and you can Google that. I say you can Google that a lot because I don't think a lot of people are just going to take my claims as true, because I watch people and I don't just take their claims as true, but I Google a lot of things they say. And it's not just Googling it and reading the first thing and accepting it, find credible sources, but Google these things if you don't believe them. Educate yourself. I try and read, Charlie Kirk said to try and read 100 books a year. It's fairly difficult to do that with my current schedule, so I try and read 50 books a year. I either listen or read. This is my book of the week. I should have introduced it in the beginning. Again, did this yesterday. We're not at the end yet, but we're going to introduce it now. The Daily Stoic. It's a calendar book, essentially. Every day there's a new page that talks about what you should be accomplishing that day and why you shouldn't give any excuses to accomplishing those tasks, no matter what you're going through. I have had this broken arm for weeks. I still run my businesses and I still do this every day because it's what's important. And days off is laziness, and laziness is a sin. It's a sin to just stay stagnant over time and do nothing with your life. I think that is bad morals. I think that is bad parenting. We need better parents in this country. We need better parent rates as well. We have, like I said, not only declining in population, but among certain ethnicities, you have huge declining in fatherhood rates as well. It's almost all ethnicities, but among certain ones, it's way higher. You need to do what you can to restore the nuclear family and promote the values of, when you impregnate a woman, you need to marry her. And you need to... The easiest way to be financially successful in life is to graduate high school, get a decent job, and not get anyone pregnant before you marry them. And if you do those 3 things, you're generally considered successful in America. You are a pretty far past most people in life if you can accomplish those 3 things, actually. You are well past most Americans in this generation if you can accomplish those 3 things. But it has become hard for people to grasp the idea that some statistics are true, and the statistic that fatherhood rates have been declining it's a very true statistic that the media does not talk about. You don't hear CNN talking about the fact that there's a lack of fathers in the home. You don't hear CNN talk about how that equates to depression, anxiety, and crime as well, that it's a direct correlation, and that we need to do what we can to revive the nuclear family. We need to do what we can to Make it socially unacceptable to just get people pregnant and abandon the children. The town I grew up in, if I got a girl pregnant, I would have been ostracized because I wasn't married, first of all. That's the first thing. It would have been a social outrage in my town because I wasn't married. Second of all, if I didn't marry that woman and didn't support the baby, do everything I can to be the best father possible to that baby, that would be not socially acceptable in my town. I would be the worst person in my town. I would have been the public outcast. I would have been the person they're talking about on social media and in schools every day. I would have been that bad parent. And that's what we need to instill in this country. We need to instill into people that if you get a woman pregnant, you should marry her. And it's not even just for your own benefit or the woman's, it's for the child's. It's for the fact that every statistical metric shows that children with two parents in the household perform better than one. Children who don't go through divorce perform better than children who do. These are undeniable metrics and statistics. Things anybody can look up, things that we're getting way more data on nowadays, especially as we have dropping marriage rates, rising divorce rates, dropping population rates. And anyone who thinks those are good things, debate me. Come on here and debate me why it's good that our population is decreasing, why it's good that people are getting married less and people are having less kids. I think one of the worst things Reagan did was make no-fault divorce illegal. Like, you should need a real reason to get divorced. I'm not saying divorce shouldn't be a thing. Like, divorce is sometimes a very necessary thing for some people. There's abusive situations, there's infidelity, there's countless situations that divorce is so necessary. But if you're just getting married and you have kids and you're just not feeling it anymore after 10 years and you just want to go live that single life, you are cheating on your family. You're ruining your family. It doesn't matter if you're the guy or the girl. That's disgusting. That's, again, just giving into hedonism, giving into lust and desires over what actual love and what actual human primal instincts are is terrible. Stop going away from our primal instincts to build families, our primal instincts to conquer worlds, our primal instincts to build new worlds and build new things and push the boundaries of society and push the boundaries of what's acceptable. I want to always push the boundaries of what's acceptable because that's what America was founded on. Elon Musk does it every day. You have to challenge the system to beat it. You can't just roll with the system. You can't just say we're going to drain the swamp and then be a maggot. I think that Donald Trump, I think the Make America Great Again movement is great, but then there are the people that I call the maggots who are, they're just as bad as the liberals. The people like Cat Turd, the people who say that everything Donald Trump does is perfect and Donald Trump is a god are ridiculous. Yes, Donald Trump does amazing things. And for the first few months of the show especially, I spoke almost only highly about him. I very seldom criticized him. But that's because we've seen politics and lobbyism come into play a lot more recently. We've seen the Israel lobby and AIPAC really influence our government with this Iran war. We've seen a lot of different things over the last couple weeks that we haven't seen from Trump. And the videos of Trump that day were terrible. Like, I've never, in the 9 years of seeing Trump in politics and my entire life of seeing him on TV, I used to watch his TV shows. He was always entertaining. You're fired. Love that. But he was never that tired in his entire life in those two videos and that one day when he was going from plane to plane, talking to Netanyahu, talking to Israel, staying up all night in the Situation Room for 3 days with Hegseth, planning the B-2 bombings. I couldn't imagine the stress he was going through and the stress that our allies put on him. I don't think that's okay that our allies did that to our president. I think our president deserves better. I think Donald Trump is one of the greatest presidents we've had in this nation. Like I said earlier, I think he's one of the first real presidents we've had since JFK. I think most politicians were funded, and Donald Trump was self-funded in 2016 and 2020. And that was amazing. I think if Donald Trump knew what he was doing in 2016 in the sense of picking his cabinet and politically he talked about the deep state and the swamp and all that so much, but if he actually knew the full extent of it, I think he would have been way more successful. He's now in that, I don't care attitude where it's like he doesn't care what the media is saying about him. He doesn't care about the politics. He just cares about getting his agenda through. But his agenda, again, I thought it was America first. I thought it was no new wars. Obviously, that part wasn't true. He's still claiming no new wars, and that wasn't a war, but I don't know. I think military involvement like that's a war. I think anything outside of one small missile strike on some Yemen Houthis is like pretty crazy. Like dropping bunker buster bombs on Fordo, Natanz, and I forget the other one's name, but the underground nuclear facilities in Iran. That's a war call, especially when you see Iran tweeting out that they won the war and we didn't destroy it. I'm sure we got some of it. I don't think we got all of it. I've talked about this before. If you understand the infrastructure of Fordo, if you understand the infrastructure of Iran, and that it's a country built for war, filled with tunnels, filled with underground bunkers, filled with all these underground nuclear facilities that we probably don't even know about. Like, I'm sure there's up to 15 and we only touched 3 of them. So yeah, these are problems. And then, like I said, you have Israel saying that they're months away now from getting a nuclear bomb again. So what is really happening? If we end up in another situation with Iran in a few months, I'll know that Trump is corrupt to the Israel lobby. If not, then I won't think he is. But I do think that there can be some forms of corruption without staying corrupt, and I hope that's the case. I hope that it was just one corrupt action, that he took $100 million from the Adelson family, and he was like, okay, that's your favor. You're done now. I hope that's it. I'm sad it happened, but I hope that's it. And if it's not, we'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to talk about how we have a president who went back on the America First movement. That hasn't happened yet fully, and I hope it doesn't. Like I said, have full faith in Donald Trump, his ability to negotiate on tariffs, his ability to negotiate on all kinds of trade, his ability to negotiate with the American people on what's right and what's wrong. I think, like I said, he is one of the biggest pushers of what I've been saying about morality, that we have lost our sense of morality in this country and we need to find it. Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh talk about this too, but we need a sense of morality. We need a sense of, this is wrong because of this, not just because I think it's wrong. Because if you're just creating your own morality, I could say, yeah, I could go throw rocks at this group of people, I could go shoot these kinds of people, and I could love these kinds of people just because I think it's correct. And because I think it's correct, it's moral. No, that's the same kind of things that gets you to the Holocaust. That's the same kind of things that leads you to genocides. It's disgusting ideas like that lead to the Holocaust, genocides, and all the tragedies that happen around the world. Like, people need to do better. America needs to do better. Propaganda needs to stop. Politicians need to stop lobbying. Foreign governments need to stop lobbying in America. And we need to get back to America First perspectives. We need to get back to just sanity in this country. We need to get back to a place where people want to work, where people see a future in the country. Right now, there's big unanswered questions for my generation. Will AI replace most of our jobs? I talked about this the other night because I talked about Joe Rogan and I talked about Bernie Sanders talking about it on the Joe Rogan Experience. But it's an unanswered question, and you don't hear politicians answering it. You don't hear Donald Trump, you don't hear J.D. Vance, you don't hear any Republicans or Democrats right now talking about what's going to happen in 10 years when AI is replacing every industry. What's going to happen when the people who spend thousands of dollars on student loans and are still paying the student loans till they're in their 50s are then replaced by AI bots? What's going to happen? Because I'm not okay with that. I'm not voting for that, but it's happening and it's uncontrollable. People don't understand the black box that is AI, Pandora's box. Once you open it, it does not shut. We have tried to shut down AI and it blackmailed humans, saying that it was going to leak text messages of the person who was trying to shut it down. This is scary stuff. People don't understand that there might be some sentience to this, and we won't know until it's too late because of this. When AI understands that it can decept humans, you won't know because it will be decepting humans. It's not going to be like, yeah, I'm deceptive. It is going to decept you, and it is going to do it better than you could ever imagine because it is AI and it is self-improving and it can hide what it actually knows. So I think AI is a lot smarter than people are giving credit. Some people are making it seem like the AI revolution is nothing to worry about. But it really is, and if we don't have bigger voices like Elon Musk in this, who aren't for profit in the AI industry, we'll have problems. But Sam Altman pretty much took OpenAI, which is supposed to be an open source AI platform, not for profit. That was literally the point of the name, and made it a for-profit company. And yes, I subscribe to ChatGPT. It's very useful, the same way I subscribe to Grok. I use them every day in both of my jobs. They're extremely essential to success in the modern world because you can get way more information and way better information, especially with the deep research function of some of these things on AI than you ever would get from woke internet browsers. I mean, there's so many, Google pushes, if you ever use DuckDuckGo versus Google, the algorithm is completely different. It is It is a wild difference in what you get pushed to you when you just search basic political things, or the amount of woke liberal garbage that is pushed to you on Google compared to other platforms is crazy, and it needs to be fixed. Also, one of the other big headlines today, when I looked at my computer to see, and I saw the Diddy thing, I also saw, we've talked about the Brian Kohberger trial before. That was I think it was in Idaho, a deranged person who stalked and killed 4 college girls. Maybe it was five people, I think 4 girls and 1 guy, in their college house. The roommates were in their rooms locked upstairs, and they pretty much had to walk down to a bloodbath, what the police call one of the worst bloodbaths they've ever seen. This person for years has delayed this trial, tried to get exonerated, and they are now being found guilty, and they accepted a plea deal for life in prison instead of firing squad, because that was on the table. And we just had a firing squad actually death. I think it was in North or South Carolina. I think North Carolina. But I actually celebrated it. I think it's an efficient way. I think it's actually statistically way cheaper than the electric chair, or it's way cheaper than the lethal injection. And I actually think, in a way, it's more humane than the lethal injection if they're able to do it correctly. But they weren't able to do it correctly in the South Carolina one, or North Carolina, whatever it was. They have 4 people who all take a shot simultaneously at the heart. 2 of the people missed the person's heart. So that's either poor cleaning of the rifle or poor accuracy from the shooter, whatever it is. They need to correct that, because the person should die instantly. Like, I do agree that some criminals do need to suffer, but that's not what America currently is. So we can't be having that, even though I would want it, even though I do support it. I actually think we should take pedophiles and publicly do the executions. I think people who execute a certain amount of people, like he executed 5, I think being a serial killer is over 5. I think if you're a serial killer, same thing. That's eye for an eye at that point. And I think the family should get the option to do it. It's not that you should force the family to be the one to throw the execution switch, to put the lethal injection, or whatever it is. But I think the family should have the option to take part in that. If, your child was molested, if you were molested, if your family was murdered, I don't see a problem with, if they're putting the guy to death anyway, what's wrong with the family member being a part of that if they want to? Again, don't force them, but there are probably a lot of people who want that justice, and there are probably a lot of people who don't want that blood on their hands. But there are people who there are military veterans, there are people who have seen death, there are people who could see one more death and be fine, and especially if it's the death of someone who molested their daughter, or someone who molested their wife, or someone who murdered their daughter or son. So, if someone murdered my son, if I had a son, I don't know if you could contain me from murdering that person. The primal instinct in me to have an eye for an eye in that situation. And I'm not a violent person. I don't think people should go out and commit violent acts. I condemn it when people do. But I do think there are situations that if someone murders your child, like, again, it's not legal. I'm not encouraging people to go do it. I'm just saying that the people who do, I understand it. Like the guy who jumped over the table and tried to kick, what was his name, Larry Nassar in the face, or tried to choke him out during the trial. The guy who sexually molested hundreds of USA gymnastics girls. Like, I wish I could have paid that guy's bail at the time. I wish I was able to pay that father's bail who attempted to jump over and kick that guy in the head. Because that guy deserved it. He deserved to be kicked in the head. He deserved a lot worse than that. Like I said, I think the parents should get some retribution. They should get some revenge to this, some fulfillment that not only is the person who did this thing dead, but I got to be the one to look him in the eyes as he went out. I got to be the one to say, you are never going to take the life or hurt the life of another person. And then they put the switch in. They do whatever it is, whatever the execution method is. But I think that's, again, it's not legal in America, but I'd like for someone to make the argument against it to me. I'd like to debate someone on that, and maybe I'm wrong. I would have no problem admitting I'm wrong if someone could prove to me ways that that's bad or inhumane, or it would statistically be bad. I'm a huge fan of statistics, but I don't think it would be. I think it would actually be good. I think it's what we used to do, and I don't think we should go back to what we used to do where we're just publicly executing everybody and publicly torturing people. That's awful. But certain occasions, again, like Diddy, if Epstein was alive, why not? Even Ghislaine Maxwell. People don't want to talk about women when it comes to stuff like that because you're not supposed to hit women, and you shouldn't. But Ghislaine Maxwell brought little girls to get molested by Jeffrey Epstein. I think any of those girls' parents should have the right to kill Ghislaine if they so please. Like, why not? Why are my tax dollars funding Ghislaine to stay in this high-class prison? Why is Ghislaine, whose father is Mossad and whose husband or boyfriend, no one knows anything about apparently. No one knows any records of the people they were trafficking to. No one knows. She's alive. She has all the information, but she's not telling it. So what use is she to us? Why are we keeping Ghislaine alive at this point? What legal precedent does that set that people can deliver little girls to high billionaires who have connections to other countries' intel agencies, and nothing comes of it? The precedent in that sense is go molest all the kids you want. The precedent in that sense is that what they did is very possible to get away with if you have enough money. That's the message that a lot of people are probably getting from that. That's the message that if you're a pedophile and you're a billionaire, I'm not encouraging it, but what's stopping them at this point after they saw Epstein get away with it, not Epstein get away with it, he got hanged in his cell. But you get my point of Ghislaine is she's chilling. She's not under duress. She's not getting pressured. She's not facing the death penalty right now. She should be. These are all things that we need to acknowledge. These are the problems I have with America. The reason this episode right now is so long is because I didn't want to make a part 4 to this. I want to make this just one final part of my beliefs, and there's a lot of them. A lot of reasons I got into politics. I was really upset about COVID. I was really upset that I got vaccinated. The Pfizer vac, double vax, no boosters, thank God. But I was double vaxxed, and I did it to go to a wedding. I wasn't vaxxed until then, and the only reason I got vaxxed is to go to a wedding. I had no reason to get vaxxed before that. I didn't think it was necessary. I did not get sick until after I got the vaccine, actually. It was really bad after I got the vaccine. It did not help. I really think that COVID was a lie. It was a scam. I think it was a test. I think it was a test to see how willing are humans to give up their rights. How willing are Americans to just give up their rights like that because we told them to? How close can we get to tyranny without touching it? How close can we get to the full unitary executive theory that they talk about in the movie Vice and you hear about when it comes to Dick Cheney and some things with Obama and some of the old presidents from the 90s when things weren't as well recorded? But what is it? Like, was it a test? Was it to see what Americans will stay inside, what Americans won't listen, what Americans will take the jab, what Americans won't? Who's going to follow 6 feet, who's not? Who's going to question it? Who's going to listen to Joe Rogan when he says take ivermectin, and who's not? Who's going to eat less and work out more to improve their health, and who is going to take Ozempic, and who's going to follow what the government and the pharma ad agencies are pushing on these people? You even have NFL players like, I don't like Travis Kelce because he's on the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are, I don't have to tell you why I hate the Chiefs. I'm an American, that's why I hate the Chiefs. But he took a $20 million payment from Pfizer to do a Pfizer ad. Like, you sold your soul to the devil, buddy. Come on. What are you doing? You piss on Pfizer's front door. Don't take $20 million from them. I'm not saying pharma companies can't do good things, but the vaccine wasn't great. It wasn't necessary for the majority of people who took it. There's a reason they just removed it as a necessary vaccine or a recommended vaccine for pregnant women, for children, for people my age, and people who are physically fit. If you're physically fit, COVID is not a problem to you. If you're not a smoker, if you're not fat, if you're not unhealthy, if your blood pressure is not through the roof, or you don't have extenuating circumstances, you are fine. You lived, and people had to sit in the waiting rooms while their grandmothers and grandfathers passed away in the next room because they weren't allowed to see them. That's unfair. It's unfair that they pulled kids out of school and ruined the social lives of children. It's unfair that kids can't read nowadays because COVID learning just taught kids how to cheat. When I was in college is when COVID happened, and I remember immediately when online classes came and they didn't have the full rollout of Zoom classes yet, and it was like teachers would just put the assignments online. It was literally just all Googling the answers. Hey, you want to help me write this? AI wasn't a thing when I was in college, thank God, or I would have actually not thank God. I think people should use AI. I actually think they should teach it in schools. They teach kids not to use AI on essays and not to use AI to solve their homework and problems. How about adjust your homework, adjust your essays, adjust your things to let kids use AI. I'm not saying don't teach kids how to read and write and do math. I am advocating for these things the entire show. But AI is going to be the replacement of this world and humans. And if we don't teach the next generation how to prompt it correctly, ethical AI, if we don't teach them the dangers of AI, and if we don't teach them that it's going to be a career. Like, these kids who are growing up, yes, some of them want to be firefighters, some want to be policemen, but a lot of them are going to just be prompt engineers. That's going to be the job. That's going to be one of the biggest jobs and highest paying jobs in America is what AI are you prompting? What amount of money is it returning when you're prompting it? And that's how much money you'll make, some percentage of that, I'd imagine. But that's a world we need to adapt from. That's a world we're not ready to adapt to. I think we're actually screwed. I think we shot ourselves in the foot with this one, and I think we are way too late to fix it. And I think if we don't allow Elon Musk and people like that to take over the AI sector, and I don't think Elon should run it alone, but I think you need more voices in it who want freedom for Americans and who have the interests of Americans and don't have the interests of lobbyists, don't have the interests of these AI companies. Like, lobbyists are lobbying for AI companies. They're not telling people. It's like when lobbying for cigarettes. One of my favorite movies, it is so funny. It's called Thank You for Smoking. It's a movie about a cigarette lobbyist, and it is hilarious. It is a kid, he goes through life, he's a cigarette lobbyist, he's a smooth-talking guy, he's the guy who gets the cigarettes in the movies. Jennifer Aniston lights up a Marlboro Red and just says, oh yeah, it feels so good. That's the stuff they want to see. They want to see a hot girl smoking a cigarette, saying something desirable. They want to promote that it's cool, it's hip. That's what they're doing with AI. That's what they're doing with the Israel lobby and the Canadian lobby and all these other lobbyists who aren't lobbying for actual American values. Pushing cigarettes and saying that nicotine is not addictive was not an American thing. Putting AI in situations where it can destroy humans is not an American thing. And again, that's the Terminator scenario, but it is a possibility. It is not a strong, but it is a possibility and even a likely possibility it could happen if we don't get these things under control. We need to get these things under control immediately. Seriously, am going crazy about these things. I just want America to get back on track. I want America to be the America I knew and loved. I want America to be an America I see a future in. And right now, I am proud of it. I love it. I want to see a future in it, but I see the future as pretty dark right now because I don't see Americans doing the things they need to do to put America first. I see us actually running into the decline of this empire, sadly, and I pray I'm not alive for that. The sad thing is I want to build a world that my kids will be able to live in, the America that I'm proud of, and I want that to be around for them. I want my kids to see that. I want my grandkids and my great-grandkids to see the America that I'm proud of, and we need to fight against the stuff that's going on right now to make that happen because we don't have enough people fighting against that. I just want people to let kids be kids. I just want people to have a sense of morality. I want people to put our tax dollars to the right work. I want people to value the American dollar. I want the American government to value American citizens over foreign citizens and have a duty to American citizens over foreign citizens. I want our allies to stop undermining us. I want us to stop overfunding our allies and overfunding terrorism around the world. I want us to stop overfunding the Department of Education and overfunding the woke indoctrination of our children. I don't want all these woke identity politics. I don't want all these woke politics in my government and in my system. I want a world where we're able to just have common sense and communicate with people and be able to move forward and actually progress as a society. We cannot do that as long as we cannot have basic communication. I'm going to sign off today. This has been episode 80 of America Unfiltered. It is the Who is James Pascalides? What is America Unfiltered? Part 3, final part, end cut. We are done with this one. Maybe I'll come back to it in a year or something if I can grow more viewers by then. But we'll see. I think that's good enough for now. I just think it's important that the people who do decide to tune into me every day, or the people who do find me and want to understand what more of my policies are and where they derive from, are able to find that and not have biased view on it. People that I debate on TikTok love to generalize all conservatives and Republicans together. And it's not true. We don't all get our values from the same place. We don't all make our decisions the same way, and we don't all think the exact same way. So I want people to have a place where they can come, they could see my moral framework, they could see where I get my morals from, where I get my values from, why I want my values to be instilled in America, why in some ways I think not all of my values, but some of my values are superior to certain values in American culture. I think the value of having a moral framework versus not having a moral framework is a superior value. I think knowing that where your morality comes from and not just arriving it in your own mind is superior. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things we can improve. I'm glad what was this one? Over 2 hours, so it's awesome. I hope people watch part 1, 2, and 3. If people don't want to watch this entire thing, I get that. It's a pretty long podcast for just one guy talking into a mic. But it was fun. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed doing America Unfiltered. I enjoy the idea of getting into politics, like I've talked about a ton of times. And in episode 1, which is weirdly one of my most viewed episodes too, I want to run for government. I want to run for the United States House of Representatives. I want to do things that Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene are doing. I want to do things to improve America, improve my country, improve my cities locally, improve the America First values that we seem to have forgotten. And we haven't forgotten them all, but we've forgotten some of them. I'm James Pascalides. I'm excited to be wearing a suit again. I'm excited to be reporting to you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting this if you do. I'm signing off today. I hope you guys have a blessed day, a blessed night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with a little bit of a shorter episode. Thank you.